Welcome to the June 13th regular meeting of the City of Post Falls Planning and Zoning Commission. Will you please rise with me? Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, just a reminder to make sure and turn off or silence your cell phones, and we will go into roll call.
Davis,
Yes.
Keene,
Here.
Wilder,
Here.
Carey, here, Latham,
Here.
Hampy, here, Kimball.
Present. Everyone's present and accounted for. Fantastic. Any amendments to the agenda this evening?
No, there is not.
Do we have any ceremonies, appointments, announcements, and/or presentations?
None.
Okay, no being none there. Let's move on to item number 6, declaration of conflict. Any conflict to declare this evening?
Yes, I have a conflict with a new business under Prairie Falls Street Development.
Okay.
I did want to disclose the JR Perk. I was contacted by Sandra over the phone just to discuss that project a little bit, but there hasn't been anything that's transpired on that project. So I don't know, Warren, what's your comments on that?
When you say you were contacted to discuss a little bit, what exactly was discussed?
Potentially looking into it more in the future, so I could be engaged in that project. So if you think I should step down on that, I could.
If it's still pending as a potential item where you might make money, I think I would step aside on that.
Okay, that's fine. I'll do that.
Okay. Duly noted. We'll go on to consent calendar. We've got a lot on the consent calendar. John, is there anything that we need to go over?
Yeah, item A is the minutes from the May 9th, 2017 Planning and Zoning meeting. Item B is the finding of fact of the Boseth Annexation, file number A-17-03. Item C is the findings of fact of the Dobson Acres, file number S-17-04. Item D is the findings of facts, Greensferry Grove First Edition, file number S-17-05. And item E is the findings of facts, Foxtail Final PUD and Street Naming, file number PF-17-01.
All right. With all that being said, I would look for a motion to approve the consent calendar, including all those items.
I move to approve as presented.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Go ahead and take a vote.
Hampy,
Yes.
Kimball,
Yes.
Latham,
Yes.
Carey,
Yes.
Wilder,
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Can I vote?
Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry. Keene.
Warren, don't take it personal. I apologize. All right, next item is citizen issues. This section of the agenda, again, is reserved for citizens who wish to address the commission on issues that are not on the agenda. And in addition, if there's something that is coming up on future agendas, we'd ask that you would wait until that time. But that being said, do we have anything on citizen issues? None. We have no unfinished or old business, correct?
None.
All right. So that brings us to the public hearing. We have 3 of them this evening. And so we'll go ahead and open North Chase Place Subdivision, file number S-17-06. Tavis, it is all yours.
Good evening, Commission members. Tavis Schmidt, Associate Planner with the City of Post Falls. I'm presenting the North Chase Place Subdivision, case file S-17-06. The applicant is Willamette Valley Real Property. The owner is James Guy. The requested action this evening is the Planning and Zoning Commission's being asked to review the subdivision request and make a recommendation of approval to City Council along with appropriate conditions if necessary. The project is located on Chase, the northwest corner of what would be Chase and Grange. Right here highlighted in red. Its address is 3225 North Chase Road. The property is approximately 5 acres. Currently it's vacant. There's no significant topology or vegetation. Water is provided by East Green Acres Irrigation District, and sewers to be provided by the City of Post Falls. This shows the surrounding zoning. So we've got Chase here, going north-south, Grange, Grange going east-west. The dark yellow is R1, single-family residential. The paler, lighter yellow over here is R1S. We've got over here, this is the residential mobile home park zoning in the brown. We've got some smart code zoning popping in down here on south on Chase, and some up north on Prairie. The subject site is zoned R1, single-family residential, like what's similar right in this area here. The applicant is proposing 20 single-family residential lots with an average lot size of just over 6,600 square feet. It works out to be a density of 4 units per acre. They are proposing a new internal street. It'll be a continuation of Genesec Street. And access of Genesec Street will be from Grange Avenue. There'll be no direct access from the lots to Grange Avenue. This shows the subdivision plan. I couldn't get it to fit upright, so north is to the left. So we've got Chase going along here, running north-south along the top of it. This is Grange, the future to be built Grange. We've got Genesec Loop coming in from the south here, and in the subdivision it's going to continue across Grange and go north. Right here, it'll end in a temporary turnaround cul-de-sac just off the property here. So we've got 10 lots on either side of the future Genesec Street. The proposed subdivision meets the policies and goals found within the Post Falls Comprehensive Plan. Within Title 17 of the Post Falls Municipal Code, there are 6 review criteria for subdivisions. The first one is regarding water supply and that there's adequate water in terms of quantity and quality. And this is up to the East Green Acres Irrigation District. The second criteria is regarding public sewage system and that there's the existing system can handle and accommodate proposed sewer flows. The City of Post Falls has adequate capacity to provide service to the subdivision, and the proposed layout is adequate. The third criteria is the proposed streets are consistent with the transportation element within the comprehensive plan. The roadway alignment and cross-sections are appropriate. There will be no direct access from the subdivision lots to either Chase Road or Grange Avenue, and the layout does accommodate future connectivity at the north end of the project, ending in a temporary cul-de-sac. So when that project is annexed and developed, it will just continue on. The temporary cul-de-sac will go away. The fourth criteria is regarding soil or topographical conditions presenting hazards on site, and there's neither of those have been identified as presenting hazards. The fifth criteria is that the areas proposed for the subdivision is zoned appropriately for the proposed use. It's zoned single-family residential R1. All the lots meet the minimum lot dimensional standards and the minimum density. The sixth and final subdivision review criteria is that the developers made adequate plans to ensure that the community isn't bearing more than its fair share of costs to provide services for the additional homes being built here. So annexation and impact fees will be paid upon building permit issuance. We received no comments from any outside agencies. And I'll stand for any questions or comments at this time.
Any questions for Tavis at this time? No. Thank you, sir. Applicant?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, Steve Circle with Tri-State Consulting Engineers, 1859 North Lakewood Drive, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I'm here on behalf of my client, Willamette Valley Real Properties. Mr. Matt Affon is here in the audience for any questions you might have from him. If you recall, a few months ago, we came before you with annexation of this piece, and now we're really excited to be able to come forth with what we want to do here. So, having said that, the Development Corporation owns and is finalizing the purchase of the property to the south, so that allows us to make that connection right there, as we show for, on an access standpoint, with Genesect coming up. So, other than that, we're looking forward to moving forward on this with a recommendation from you guys. Obviously, water, sewer, Tavis already covered all that. Access, Grange will be a full-blown roadway as determined by your engineering department, and as recommended with pedestrian access all the way through to Chase and along Chase to the north and the south. We've already met with East Green Acres, and water is currently available and adequate to serve the property. So looking forward to moving forward and making this, bringing 20 lots online for the city. So stand for any questions you might have.
Questions for applicant?
I do.
Yeah.
Can you show us how you're going to, where that temporary cul-de-sac is going to go?
Well, when we first put this together, we were thinking that because we've got some options with the property to the north. Is this dead? Okay. No. I guess I can't point. Okay, but two things we could do, Ray, is one, we could wait for the screen to come on. There we go. Okay. All right, so, hey, there we go. Okay. So one, we could make a requirement that both these driveways line up to have as a temporary turnaround for emergency services until such time that we move forward to the north. The Guy family, there's two different brothers, and so we are working with a temporary turnaround, and if that's a condition tonight, so be it. And we can figure that out later, and before we go to final plat, we can make sure that we get that resolved on how we're going to do that. Whether it's a gravel temporary turnaround north of the said property that we have, or a joint driveway turnaround for our temporary use.
Okay.
As I understand, emergency services didn't have any concern with that. That's why we're here tonight. So,
Well, our city code says that we have to, that any street longer than 150 feet has to have a fire apparatus turnaround.
you're absolutely right. Yep.
So
I agree.
that's why I mentioned that,
question.
because we don't have one. So I want to know how you're going to put one in so that whatever that our findings of fact tonight meet city code.
Gotcha. Good question. Yep.
Any other questions? None? Okay.
Thank you. Good to see y'all.
All right. Public comment. Do we have any in favor?
No.
Do we have any neutral?
No.
Do we have any against?
Yes.
I will take those then. Okay, Robert Wilhelm does not wish to speak, is in opposition. Proposed subdivision is too dense for the area. Impact traffic study should be done to ensure the safety and that there are no issues to be made with the subdivision. Number 3, there is no snow removal plan for this subdivision that would be sufficient. Number 4, 20 or so houses planned will create serious traffic and safety issues at the bottom of the railroad tracks. Okay, Mr. Wilhelm, duly noted there. And we do have an individual, Larry Castro, that does wish to speak. Larry, if you could come up, state your name and your address, and you will have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Larry Castor. I live at 1896 West Grange Avenue in the Meadows subdivision. And I'm a board member currently right now of the Meadows HOA. I hadn't seen a drawing yet of how this is going to be presented. That's primarily why I wanted to come here. I am still concerned about the density that's being proposed in this area. We've got 20 homes on 5 acres. When you subtract out the room for that road, we've got less than a quarter acre lots, right up against 1 acre Meadows subdivision lots. But primarily, if you look at this Jace Grange area and add in the Boseth annexation project that's moving forward, add in the additional houses that's being put up along Staples, add in the houses that are now going along Genick Road, add in the houses that are just across Chase here in the Whiskey Flats area, we're suddenly looking at a huge number of homes. This isn't just an isolated subdivision. We're looking at over 200 homes, I believe. And we're right next to a railroad track. We're next to a nice subdivision. It's a residential area. I think there's just going to be just too much traffic going around this whole area, whether it's Chase or Grange, and there hasn't been a full traffic study done on it. So basically, I'm opposed to it on that basis.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next in opposition that does wish to speak, Dennis Quinn. Again. Mr. Quinn, we just asked you to state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Dennis Quinn, 1203 Grange Avenue in the Meadows. When I looked at this plan today, a couple things came to mind, and the first thing a gentleman tried to explain, but I still don't think it jives. I don't see a provision for a turnaround up there, which they stated. At the previous meeting and also at this meeting, it was explained by the developer in the city that 2 driveways at the north end of Genesec Street could be used as a turnarounds. But that doesn't work if there's cars in those driveways. There's no turnaround. And it also doesn't, it's not really viable to use another person's property as a turnaround for this development. The suggestion would be to eliminate the 2 northern residences and use that as a turnaround area. Number 2, snow removal. In some discussions with a member of the Meadows about connecting or not connecting Grange previously, a council member explained how the city doesn't like dead ends, because the reasoning being is that it increases the snow removal time for the snow plows. Well, in this plan, you've just created a dead end, and with no room to put snow. I don't see anywhere where snow is going to go in that subdivision. Number 3. I have a question, and I'd like to know what is the minimum allowable distance between intersections, such as the intersection between Chase and Grange and Chase and Genesec Court, and does this fit within the allowable distances? Number 4. The city has approved R1 residential for this parcel. However, this project doesn't really conform to the surrounding R1 areas. These lots are 6,600 square feet, backing up to 1 acre R1S lots. When I did some research, I found that Whiskey Flats, which is right across the street, across Grange, or Chase, is 7,020 square feet to 12,416 square feet. Country Meadows, which is just to the south along the railroad tracks, is 14,543 square feet to 34,234 square feet. The Country Meadows first edition is 8,954 square feet to 19,369 square feet. Northern Plains, on the other side of the railroad tracks, is 16,843 square feet to 18,570 square feet. The first edition for the Northern Plains is 9,703 to 12,362. The only one that I could find that within a reasonable distance that was close was Tuscany Place. It had a couple of lots that were 6,500 square feet, but they also went up to 12,241 square feet. So something's really out of whack with this development in conforming to surrounding neighborhoods. Larry mentioned traffic study. Our attorney has written to the council requesting a traffic study. We have brought this up in previous meetings. I don't see anything as far as traffic study being considered or proposed, other than residents proposing it. I think it's absolutely essential, especially when you're considering the Boseth annexation to the south. In summary, my suggestion would be to postpone the development of North Chase Place until the acquisition of the northern 5 acres takes place, and develop all 10 acres as a single project. It would allow for better planning, elimination of a dead end, allow for a second entrance or exit onto Fisher. It would allow for less density and possibly some open space or a buffer zone between R1S and R1 housing. The developer has to put this many houses on this piece of property to make a profit. But remember, it's not the city's responsibility that the developer makes a profit. The city's responsibility is to existing residents. We are not against growth, just responsible and sensible growth to ensure a safe neighborhood that conforms to the surrounding neighborhoods. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, and lastly, this evening, wishing to speak in opposition, it's Scott Porman. Will you come up?
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Scott Porman, 320 East Niter, Suite 204, Coeur d'Alene. That's the one. Thank you. I am here on behalf of the Meadows Association, representing the board of that subdivision association. I've asked for the overview to be put back on the screen so you can kind of see the bigger picture of how this particular subdivision fits into the surrounding area. You've probably all heard the old joke about how do you eat an elephant. Well, the answer is one small bite at a time. And I think that's what's going on here. If you were paying close attention, you might have picked up the fact that the development company for this particular subdivision is under contract to buy the land to the south. The Guy brothers own the land to the north. Yet this is the first small bite that they're taking. And it's an old trick. I've used it myself, I must admit. When you have a bigger plan in mind, like the proverbial camel, you get your nose under the edge of the tent, next thing you know, the camel's in the tent. And I think that's the strategy that's being employed here. If you look at a 5-acre, 20-lot subdivision, if you consider the impacts of that subdivision, clearly there's adequate water, there's adequate sewer, and how much of a traffic impact is 20 more houses going to add? Probably minimal. And I think that's what you've heard tonight, that as you heard at the annexation. Really nothing to see here, no reason to pay close attention to this. This is just a 20-lot, 5-acre subdivision. But it really isn't. When you look at the neighborhood, you can see already Boseth to the south, that's coming next. All of that county property to the north will certainly be annexed. That's coming after this one. There's additional county property to the south, below the railroad tracks. That will be annexed, and then there will be similar subdivision requests. So if you can establish a foothold with R1, use this as your setting your precedent, then you can argue against that, or off of that precedent. Well, you approved us here, you have to approve us there. And the next thing you know, it's not a 20-lot subdivision you're dealing with. It is hundreds. And that's the impact that I think needs to be addressed up front not when you're on subdivision number 5. And quite honestly, I do not believe the city's current traffic study, which, by the way, isn't current, several years old, took into consideration the connection of Grange, which will happen through this project. All of the 2 additional north-south streets, Genesec coming north into this project and then south into the Boseth annexation. You count those streets, you've got 8 intersecting roads in that small area around Chase and Grange. Add to the problem, every time a train decides to go through there, you've lost north and south flow on Chase and Grange, and you have what I like to call a spaghetti bowl of streets with cars piling up because there's no place for them to go because the train's holding everybody back. That's a recipe for disaster in the event of a fire or an ambulance or medical emergency. There's just not going to be any movement until the train clears and then the traffic clears. And with no signals, that's going to take some time. So I think that it's not unreasonable for the public and my client to be requesting the city just take a pause here, back up for a second and say, do we really know, have we really looked at what the traffic impacts of not just this project, but the next project and the next project and the next one? And they're lined up, they're ready to go. We're not going to have to wait. They'll be coming one behind the other. Isn't it the right time now to say to these developers, you're asking for our blessing. We need you to convince us that the streets that exist and will be created are going to be adequate to handle this situation. We need to get input from the railroad. We need to look at this. And quite frankly, if you take one bite at a time, you're going to miss the bigger picture. So that's what my client is really stressing here, commissioners, that there be an opportunity to look at the bigger picture, consider what I think anybody who would honestly admit is coming down the line, the projects that are coming. And let's take a closer look at what those traffic impacts are going to be and make sure that you're ready for them, not just a 5-acre, 20-lot subdivision.
Excellent. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Applicant rebuttal.
Thank you. Again, for the record, Steve Circle with Tri-State Consulting Engineers. Okay, certainly want to thank everybody coming here to give comments, and they're obviously very well warranted, and we'd love to have those. I'm going to start with what probably is the most fresh in our minds, which is Mr. Poorman's comments, and that would be
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, can I interrupt him real quick? Warren, would it be appropriate, I have a question for staff. Would it be appropriate to have that now or after rebuttal
So
with regards to traffic?
it probably wouldn't hurt to have it now. That way the applicant has a chance to rebut anything that might be contrary to his position.
Okay. Sorry about that, Steve.
Okay.
Rob, I have a quick question for you, please.
Take it away, my thought.
Yes, Mr. Commissioner.
With regards to the city's traffic model, we talked about it last month a little bit, but for the record here, can you tell us whether or not the city's traffic model includes a future connection of Grange coming through based on its master plan, as well as whether or not R1 density is factored into the traffic impact in the city's traffic model?
Commissioner Kimball, first of all, Robert Paulus, Assistant City Engineer. Our current transportation master plan that's adopted by council is dated 2004, and I think that's what Mr. Poorman was referring to about how the city's study is out of date. The city of Post Falls did move forward on an update to the transportation master plan in late 2014, and it has not been finalized and adopted by City Council. However, model runs have been done in that to look out to the year 2035. And in that model, Grange Avenue is connected into Chase Road. However, an in-depth analysis of that intersection was not done, neither in 2004 nor in the more recent modeling analysis. The reason for that is that Grange Avenue is viewed in both models as a local road. We do not typically analyze in detail local intersections because their traffic volumes tend to be viewed as around, and we talked last time about residential streets being around 1,000 trips per day or less. The model does take a look at intersections such as Chase Road and Prairie, and then further to the south as you get to Chase Road and Poline Avenue. Currently, we have on Chase Road around 2,000 trips per day. By 2035, I don't remember what the traffic volumes are going to be to. However, I do know that the traffic model does show that Chase Road will need to be a 3-lane arterial roadway. That's what we've been collecting with impact fees, or that's what we've been collecting for rights-of-way during annexation, and that's what the subdivisions in the area are building as they develop in that area. We've got curb and gutter on the east side of Chase at this location, built by Whiskey Flats, to that 3-lane arterial classification, which also includes bicycle lanes. If this project was to move forward, it would also build the west half of that, which would allow for, at the intersection of Chase and Grange, a southbound left turn pocket to get onto Grange Avenue. We also have the Country Meadows First Edition just south of here, which has been approved and is under construction. They are cashing out the frontage improvements along Chase Road. The Tuscany Place subdivision on the east side and south of Grange cashed out their frontage improvements back about 10 years ago. The city of Post Falls also has some money in impact fees that we have been collecting towards some additional improvements of grade adjustment coming up to that railroad track. It looks like things are moving in a position where possibly with an impact fee project or piggybacking on one of these other subdivision projects that we could get our impact fee dollars in there and make some additional improvements south of Grange Avenue. But we need to get that approved through council to expend those impact fee dollars. What was the other part of your question, Mr. Kimball?
Well, I think that answered it. I do have one quick follow-up. Would it be fair to say that the impact fees associated with every building permit in every subdivision that is approved in this vicinity would go towards capital improvements above and beyond frontage improvements that are typically required by the developer?
That is correct. Our impact fees generally go to larger intersection-related improvements where more of the problems occur and tend to be higher in cost value as well.
So that's how the city, so that it'd be fair to say then that that's how the city pays for extra impacts from a camel putting his nose under the tent, so to speak.
Yeah. For example, Country Meadows First Edition, they have a very small impact on Chase Road. They're going to cash out curb, gutter, sidewalk, fine. But with however many houses are in there, what are their impacts down south at the intersection of Chase Road and Poline Avenue? Well, the master plan takes a look at the entire area with the perceived future land use. And in this area, this land, except for what's already developed, was looked at as an R1 or some of the smart code areas with a little bit higher density. We anticipate a future roundabout or traffic signal at Chase and Poline, but we're not doing individual traffic studies with these smaller subdivisions to see whether or not that roundabout or signal is needed. We're looking at the traffic volumes as they go in that area. We're collecting impact fees, and then when that project's needed, we can get it built.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Before you leave, one more clarification, because I just went back to last month's meeting minutes, and you and I had this conversation, and it is still true that in 2017, the plan is both on Spokane Street and on Grange for railroad safety improvement, including lights and gates.
That is correct. I did make a call to the Idaho Transportation Department last week Friday to see if they had an updated schedule as to when UP Railroads are going to be doing that project. I have not gotten a response yet, so it's still in the position of the Union Pacific Railroad has the plans, and we're just waiting to hear the date of their schedule when they'll go under construction.
Okay, and I did see here that there was some discussion before that, like the Chase and Grain annexation, if that was to be approved, that would actually go in before the subdivision? Is that still the plan, depending again?
That is what the anticipation is based upon where we're at in the process for this project for approvals. By the time they get construction plans through and ready to go to construction, it's most likely that this project would be a late summer or early fall before it's done and ready to start issuing building permits on houses. So if the Union Pacific Railroad is on schedule, the railroad crossing improvements will be done before the first house is ready for occupancy.
Excellent. Okay, I promise I won't ask you this next month.
You can ask it again. I'll hopefully have an update from ITD at that time.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Any other questions? Steve, welcome back.
Thank you. Okay, now I got to retool, but, okay, so, Mr. Portman talked about eat the elephant. Let's look at the map that's on the screen, okay? And the elephant really is limited access. So Grange has to go through to improve that access, regardless if our project is, or the project to the south, or as alluded to by Mr. Portman, or either the north and the east. We got to provide more connectivity for traffic for ingress and egress, okay? Rob just mentioned that Chase Road is slated, and he mentioned a month ago when we were here for annexation, it's slated to handle this traffic per not only 2004 but 2014 traffic study. Okay, so I think that's taken care of, and so yeah, we're one small element of many that hopefully will come through, because this is, let's not forget this is infill, and we're going to fill all this in. So should we fill it in as stated before, responsibly a month ago, or should we fill it in with R1S? No, because that doesn't really, it's not sustainable with that kind of density. So I think that we're slated right. I think that we're going to do the improvements as we've already proposed to do on Chase to provide for pedestrian and all of the kids moving in to and from, as well as the kids coming from the developments to our neighboring developments. The total impact of the property, I think, Mr. Kimball, you had mentioned it, and you stated it well last time. The size of it reeks this kind of development, as you guys agreed to, for the current zoning, because it's not the right size for the smaller density. Okay, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, so I won't. Traffic study, I think Rob covered that a little bit, enough to where if I have any questions from you guys, I certainly would answer that. Mr. Quinn stated turnaround concerns. We're willing to consider if we want to. Can we go back to this one? And Mr. Kimball, you had stated that you had concerns about that as well. I'm waiting for it to fire up here. So if we want to turn lot 1 and not plat that, and then have that as a temporary access to Chase for a secondary access for emergency purposes, we don't have a problem with that. We certainly want to create these homes and these residences in a safe manner that obviously, one, complements the city of Post Falls, and two, it's safe for all the emergency services to service that. So until at such time, if we can't, priority one we want to do, and we'll try to negotiate that turnaround, temporary turnaround in a gravel standpoint to the north. Snow removal. Your code allows for snow removal, which will be right along the roadside swales, and that's what we've got. We've got a city-wide standard road designed to accommodate for that. Intersection spacing, Mr. Quinn had mentioned on that. I just want to make sure I cover all the bases there. I believe that your staff has already vetted this out, and that that's not going to be a problem based on the classification of Grange Road as it's already established. The surrounding properties and plats are zoned R1. So this does fit within the community, obviously. Otherwise, you guys wouldn't have approved it as R1. Mr. Costra had stated before at the beginning, as a board member, he's concerned about the density. This, not to beat a dead horse, but this, I think, makes the most sense for density for you guys for consideration based on the access, where we are, because we can't access 1 acre lots off Chase Road. That was established when we were here for you on annexation. So it's kind of difficult to realize that. But Whiskey Flats, all the surrounding neighborhoods to the east, to the south, and to the northeast, they're all R1, which is where we're at. So I don't want to revisit the density things because we're already here, annexed in. So we feel this is a good layout for the property, and would love to have your vote for recommendation to move forward. Stand for any questions you might have.
I still have the concerns. Could you explain again your options for the emergency turnaround?
Yep. Thank you for that. Option one would be is we're going to try to negotiate with the neighbor to the north on a gravel turnaround, meeting emergency standards, which would probably be a 50, 60-foot radius, gravel, whatever's compliable. If not, and we get it in an easement, or we'll surrender Lot 1 with a temporary connection to Chase Road, which would be in the form of probably a 20-foot wide gravel road. And that lot won't be developed as, we'll definitely put the services in for that, because as we plan to go to the north, or whoever's going to go to the north, then so be it. That lot will come back to us at some point in time in the future. Does that help?
Would that be unacceptable, using that lot as a temporary emergency access?
As it's stated in a staff
Looks like
report.
Rob's coming up. He can speak to the access to the road, whether or not that's
That's what I'm talking about, having an
sufficient.
access to
They will
Chase.
need to do something to provide that emergency turnaround. If it's going to be on the property to north prior to the final plat, they're going to need to bring in an easement showing that they have legal right to do a turnaround on the lots to the north. Otherwise, they'll have to do something on those last lots, so they wouldn't be able to be developed until such time as the road continues to the north. But whether they can have access to the road, that's really in Rob's bailiwick.
Madam Commissioner, there are a number of different options that they can do, and we have worked with these type of situations in numerous subdivisions. As stated, if they put a temporary cul-de-sac on the property to the north, before they get plan approval to go forward with construction, they have to get an easement to the city for that. An access point being a emergency-only access out to Chase Road would be allowed, but any of those technical details will be governed, one, by the fire code, and two, in working with the fire marshal himself during the plan review process to make sure that the Kootenai Fire and Rescue is happy with the layout. And so that will take care of that issue during construction. But the important thing is, if you're approving it, it was in the staff comments that they need to provide an emergency turnaround that's acceptable to emergency services, and that's what we will work with them during plan review for if the project is approved.
Okay, thank you.
That ought to be added as a condition if your motion is for approval tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for applicant? No? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. This time, we'll go ahead and close the hearing on A-17-03. Actually, I got way ahead of myself. I'm sorry, S-17-06. We'll open it up for commissioner comments. Who wants to start? Warren, do you want to start?
Sure, I'll start. I think the traffic explanations are very helpful as to where we are and where we're going in the vicinity, and I'm satisfied with that information. I think that the emergency services turnaround is important. It's answered that it's going to be done before anything else is going forward, and this allows the owners of the property to develop their property within all the confines of the city regulations and rules and policies. So I think it's, as I said before, it's a good fit, and I think it's appropriately designed.
You, Joe?
I pretty much agree there. My main concern was the emergency thing, and as long as that is something that's taken care of to the city's standards, then I think it will fit there.
Sir?
I think it meets the city code as it sits right now, with the exception of the turnaround. I don't have any traffic concerns. I think Rob has a very good grasp of them and the city's traffic model, and I defer to him as an expert on city's traffic as essentially the city's traffic engineer. So I think it meets the code and should be approved.
Mark?
I don't have a problem with the subdivision. That pushing Grange through is a I think is a good thing. I don't see any negative on that. That the way the Meadows was so circuitous, the way to get out of there for many years, and Staples and Genesec in that matter, just made people drive faster and trying to, longer drive time to get out onto the arterials, and I think that actually helps. It's more of a slows people down and calming effect, so I think actually a little bit of the opposite of what some people think. So, don't have any other questions or comments.
Daryl?
I think it's a good fit. I think it meets the code.
Nancy?
I still feel like it's too dense. I think that as R1, it's just about as dense as it can get. I mean, it's within 150 feet of being, not even meeting it. It's as dense as it can possibly get for R1, and I think that the surrounding, there's definitely other R1, but it is not by any means nearly that dense. The lots aren't nearly that small, and I just feel like it's too dense. I feel like it is going to encourage the other undeveloped property to be lots of this size, and I would much rather see it higher density, or I mean lower density, less lots.
Okay.
So that's how I feel.
Well, I mean, basically the 6 variables: water's good, sewer's good, streets, again, to, listening to Rob, the city's done a fantastic job planning for that, in my opinion. Soil's good. Obviously, annexation impact fees are fine. It's just the zone, I think, is where everyone's concern is at. So, that being said, and everyone's speaking their piece, I would entertain a motion at this time to move forward.
In the case of S 17-06 North Chase Place subdivision, I would move to approve subdivision, adding a condition number 9, stating that a fire district and city staff approved turnaround shall be provided prior to approval by city council. And also adopting the other proposed conditions found in the staff report, finding that the application meets city code and meets the standards for review for a subdivision. And I think that's the end of my motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Call for vote.
Hampi,
No.
Kimball,
Yes?
Carey,
Yes.
Wilder,
Yes.
Latham,
Yes.
Keane,
Yes.
Davis.
Yes. Okay, so moved. We will move on to the second public hearing, that is Hideaway preliminary PUD and subdivision files P-17-01 and S-17-07. We'll start it. Tavis to present.
Good evening, Commissioners. Tavis Schmidt, Associate Planner with City of Post Falls. I'm presenting the Hideaway Subdivision and PUD, case file S-17-06 and P-17-01. The applicant is Halo Construction Group, and the owner is Anthony and Carmi Eppers. The requested action this evening is the Planning and Zoning Commission's being asked to review the preliminary PUD and subdivision request and make a recommendation of approval to the City Council along with appropriate conditions if necessary. The project is located at 2525 East Mullen Avenue. It's approximately 320 feet east of the intersection of Mullen and Greensferry. The property is approximately 1.5 acres. Currently, there's a single-family residence and a shop on site. Physical characteristics, there's no significant topology or vegetation. Water is to be provided by the Ross Point Water District and sewer by the City of Post Falls. This vicinity map shows the project location highlighted in red right here. Mullen Avenue is on the south side. To the west is Greensferry Road. And surrounding it is the Greensferry Landing PUD that was previously built out here. The Greensferry Landing PUD has a mix of apartments and single-family residential and community building. The proposed subdivision is for 20 single-family residential lots. The average lot size is 2,229 square feet. Works out to be a density of 13.3 units per acre. They are proposing a new internal street that will be a loop called Hideaway, and it will be one-way. And access of Hideaway Loop will be directly from Mullen Avenue. None of the lots will have direct access to Mullen Avenue. This shows the surrounding zoning. In the yellow, dark yellow is R1 single-family residential. The red is community commercial services. Mullen is, you can see on the south side of Mullen is all community commercial services, and we've got a little bit on the north side of Mullen in spots. This is a big county pocket in this area here, and then primarily residential as we head north. The PUD it's a proposal for cottage housing style development. They are proposing an open space. The applicant's open space is a little over 7,200 square feet. Works out to be approximately 11% of the overall lot area. They are requesting some exceptions from the R1 zoning, and those exceptions are a minimum lot area of 1,517 square feet, a minimum lot width of 42 feet, the setbacks 8 feet in the front and 8 feet in the rear, a minimum floor area of 600 square feet, and then a maximum density of 13.3 dwelling units per acre. This map shows the future land use for the comprehensive plan. We see the large swaths of red. That's commercial along Mullen, south side of Mullen. North of Mullen, it's primarily yellow, and that's residential. The comprehensive plan just designates it as residential, not necessarily R1 or R3 or anything like that. If you look on the north side of Mullen, there is this kind of gray cross-hatching along there. That in the comprehensive plan is identified as a mixed-use future land use that is suitable for commercial uses fronting on Mullen Avenue. This shows a preliminary layout. We've got Mullen would be on the south, the bottom of the screen, and then Hideaway Loop would come in here and circle around. We've got lots 1 through 16 on the outside of the loop, and we've got 17, 18, and 19, and 20, so those 4 lots in the middle here. And Tract B is the proposed common open space area. Tract A would be the private Hideaway lane, Hideaway loop. Staff reviewed it for the comprehensive plan and found it to meet the policies and goals within the comprehensive plan. There are 6 criteria within Title 17 for subdivision review. The first one is regarding water supply, quantity, and quality. Ross Point Water District is the utility provider for water system. Criteria number 2 is regarding the public sewage system. City of Post Falls provides the sewer and has adequate capacity, and the proposed layout for the sewer system is adequate. The third criteria is regarding proposed streets are consistent with the transportation element of the comprehensive plan. The roadway alignment and cross sections are appropriate, and as stated earlier, there will be no direct access from the subdivision lots to Mullen Avenue. Criteria 4 is regarding soil or topographical conditions presenting hazards, and none of the soil or topographical conditions have been identified presenting any hazard. Criteria number 5 is that the area for the proposed subdivision is zoned and the use conforms to other requirements within the municipal code. The property is zoned single-family residential R1. There is a PUD request for exceptions to the bulk and placements regulations, and stated in with the future land use map, it is in a mixed use kind of corridor fronting along Mullen. The 6th and final subdivision review criteria from the municipal code is regarding financial costs, that making sure that the community doesn't bear extra costs paying for this subdivision, and so annexation impact fees would be paid upon building permit issuance. Continuing on, regarding the PUD review criteria within Title 18 of the Municipal Code, there are 5 statements regarding PUDs. The first one is that the proposed PUD provides benefits that would not be achievable through compliance with the normally required zoning standards and regulations. So they're asking for the PUD so that they can have exceptions to the lot area, lot width, setbacks, and density primarily. The second criteria is the proposal is compatible with surrounding land uses, both existing and future. As stated, the south side of Mullen is primarily commercial. There's a RV park directly to the south. Surrounding this property on the north, west, and east sides is Greensferry Landing PUD. It has a mix of apartments that are on the north and west side of this proposal, and single-family residential to the east. The third criteria is that the proposed PUD is in conformance with the goals and policies found within the Post Falls Comprehensive Plan. Staff has found this to be in conformance with the Post Falls Comprehensive Plan. PUDs must provide a minimum of 10% open space. The applicant has shown Tract B to show that meeting a minimum 10% open space. The fifth criteria is a PUD should provide for the integrated and harmonious design and arrangement of buildings and uses. The traffic will flow around here. It's going to be a one-way loop. They are providing some community parking. I'll go into that in a moment further. There are no other comments received from any outside agencies. Staff does recommend one additional condition that was not in the staff report, and that is that Hideaway Loop will be signed no parking as reviewed and approved by the fire marshal. It was in staff comments, but it didn't make it down into the conditions. So just to further with one of the PUD criteria there, Hideaway Lane, it's lane here, but it's going to be Hideaway Loop, will be one way going in a counterclockwise motion there. All of the individual homes that are proposed there will have single family, or will have a single car garage. The garage will be set back a minimum of 20 feet from the front property line. So that will accommodate 2 off-street parking spaces. That is typical for single-family residential development, requiring a minimum 1-car garage and a minimum of 2 off-street parking spaces on the individual lots. Anything else will be, is as presented, any other development standards as presented by the applicant. That would mostly, I'll show you that one, this one. So this is the same layout here on the screen. It's just, we have the housing, the proposed housing footprints shown here. On this lot, this would be a driveway right here with the garage here. We do have some zero lot line homes proposed here that would be similar to like twin home standards. And at this time, I'll stand for any questions.
How many how many guest parking spaces are provided?
There are 10 provided
10,
in the proposed here. There are 5 on this side here and 5 on that side.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, sir. Go ahead and have applicant come up.
Good evening, Scott MacArthur, H2 Surveying and Engineering, P.O. Box 2916, Hayden, Idaho 83835. I'm here today to represent Halo Construction Group and the Eppers. Basically, this is a very unique development, which I think blends well with the R1 PUD that's adjacent to it with Greensferry Landing, and then the apartments that are adjacent to it on the west side. Kind of a mix of densities, I guess, kind of blending in the densities. This land, we've talked to the city about commercial, residential, what's the best use for it, what do we look at? I think what's being proposed brings a less impact to traffic than a commercial development would bring. Its conformity is more of it'd be a odd development for like an R1 development. It wouldn't really bring any sort of mix to the adjacent PUD. So I think its layout as approved and as worked out with the emergency services with the one-way road, I think blends well to the city and to the surroundings. Some of the unique conditions that we're proposing that are shown here are the community garden. Community garden is something that has been proposed a lot with greenstone type developments, been shown to be very successful. I myself have implemented them in Spokane area, but never in North Idaho. Gardens are necessary, and I think a community garden brings your neighborhood together, and you end the drive home, open your garage door, pull in, shut your garage door, go inside and hide. So I think it gives an opportunity for the neighbors to come together and do something as a group relationship. That's what we're all here for. So the swale area is part of the open space. The open space, I've been talking to staff a lot about open space. We do exceed the open space requirement. Our open space requirement is comprised of grassy depression areas. They're noted as swales on this exhibit and probably the exhibits you've looked at. But the grassy depression areas, a lot of times you'll see cities develop soccer fields that are grassy depression areas where the stormwater runoff flows into an open space that has a gradual grade to it. That gradual grade serves a dual purpose. In this case, it'll serve a dual purpose as runoff will be collected and 1% grade on the bottom. It'll drain to a low point, overflow to design dry wells and outlets. So communities, families will have an opportunity to use that open space and not have it just be a typical 5-foot deep swale. This is a 1-foot deep situation where you've got gradual 3-to-1, 4-to-1 side slopes, whatever works out for the design, and it's usable space. It's not that grassy swale that's in front of your house. It's usable, I guess, is the best approach. So, really, I mean, staff did a great job presenting. We have no objections to any of the conditions the staff's placed on this project. The density is a little lower, but again, I think it is a great blend between the apartments that are adjacent to it on the west and the residential community to the east and to the north, which is, I believe, 5,000 square foot lots were the minimum there. So don't quote me on that exact, but I used to live there, so yes. So for right now, I'll stand for questions. I believe staff presented a good case in their staff report, and I'll stand for questions.
I've got one.
Buddy but Ray.
Yeah. Sorry, Scott. Is the parking lot included in the open space?
It is, and that is allowed within the city standard, which may include parking, open space, grass areas.
Okay.
So how much actual open space do you have for family use?
Well, the parking lot can be family use as well, but
Yeah, but as long as
you've got 9 by 20 parking spaces. You've got 10 of them, so you've got you're losing by 1,800 square feet. So so you're probably just shy of the 10% with that. So, however, it is allowable in the code for parking, and I believe that parking is important for this community garden area and for the family area. So.
And these will be single-family homes, so they'll be sold to they'll be platted, sold, single-family homes with a private street?
Right, and that's, I think that's also a good point, just a caveat on that is, this is going to be a owner-developed project. They're going to go in and build these projects, these structures themselves. They've had them designed. In fact, I'd like to share a couple of those. Is that okay? These were in the staff report, but I'm not sure if you took a look at them. But just a couple of layouts that we've looked at here. Let me get a better view here.
Will there be an association?
There will have to be an association, and we've developed CC&Rs that we provided in the staff report.
And then they would be kind of responsible for that community garden until
Right,
such time
yeah.
that or.
Open space, irrigation, maintenance,
And did you say the streets are private or?
It'll be a private street, yes.
Okay.
Mhm. And so this is somewhat of a more of a modern look to the proposed units. They're single-family residences, affordable housing that have design characteristics that bring pride, I think, to the ownership. But they've worked really well with an architect, a local architect, to develop these. The interior layout, this is a dual. Sorry, these were all in your staff report here. But I want to provide one that gives you a better visual. So you've got your typical units. You know, the staff did present one thing, and I want to bring some clarification. The footprint is proposed for just shy of 600 square feet. The footprint's 590 to 595 square feet of an actual footprint on the ground. And then you have your two-story or single-story. This is on the two-story with the 590 square feet. And you have your single-story development that'll be just a little bit different. But this is your two-story look again, and each of them have their own little courtyard. And the way that we've laid these out through the development was to try to create your own usable area, low maintenance, a simple approach. This is somebody who's working hard that doesn't want to live in an apartment. They want to have the sense of ownership, and they want to have something they can come home to every night and take pride in. And that's what the CC&Rs have developed. Architectural constraints, which will be already developed with the owners as they are building all the units. But just control over a development. And I think that with lower density, a lot of times you will find that you don't have a lot of control over the development, no matter what you say. With this one, with the owners staying there, with them building the structures, with them putting the infrastructure in, building the roads, I just think it's a slam dunk. It's a great fit for this piece of property in the city, adjacent to the apartments, adjacent to the smaller R1 PUD. I just think it's great there. So, sorry, Ray, I went off on a tangent, buddy.
Fine. You answered my question. Thank you.
Okay. It was in there somewhere.
I know there were a few fired out there in the process. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
And I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Oh, no, that's okay. I'm just a little bit confused here. Are they going to own the land and the property, or the
They'll
builder going to
sell-
retain the land and they're just buying?
They'll build the structure and then sell the structure. So they'll build the structure, they'll own all the land, they'll own the development, they'll build the structure and sell the land with each structure.
So each owner will own their land?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, sorry,
okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, that was confusing earlier, yes.
Okay. No other questions? All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Public comment, any for?
No.
Any in neutral?
No.
Any against?
Nope.
Okay, so no need for rebuttal, so we will go ahead and close out the public hearing and open it up for comment. Down here, and start with you this time.
Well, in this case, I think it's a good fit. I think it's better than apartments. I think it's different than apartments. I think it probably allows for a little bit nicer development than possibly an apartment building would be. And I think it'll work well. I like it.
Yeah, I agree. I like the creativity. I think it's a product mix that we need in the community. I'm for it.
I agree too. I think it's really interesting. It's on Mullen, and you see everything on Mullen, all the way from vacant land and industrial and medical and commercial and multifamily and single family. So it's commercial across the street, but it's single family to the east and multifamily to the west. And I think it could have very easily become a multifamily project. So I think this is better. And if you look at it in that standpoint, I think it's, like you guys have said, it brings a variety to Post Falls, and that's nice. I think it's great.
Excellent. Ray?
I actually think multifamily would be better for this. And I actually do have a little bit of an issue, mostly just with private streets and affordable housing. I live on a subdivision with a private street that was built as affordable housing. And I know that our CC&Rs and our dues were set up to fail for when the pavement eventually fails and the road needs to be repaved and there's all the big ticket items. And I think I'm in a 33 lot subdivision or something like that. And so it just makes it worse the smaller the number. To get that number divided over, it's that much more difficult for especially affordable housing, which is either retiree housing on fixed income or young couples on a limited income in their first house, to be able to pay that extra huge amount that comes due in 20 or 30 years. And I'm thinking of from a long-term perspective, and I've been hit with that, and I'm not a fan of it, which is one of the reasons why I think apartments would be a better thing for this, simply because it's owned by an owner that's would be taking care of, doing maintenance and owning the property, and it's not it'd be one owner versus 18. So, and I don't really think that the open space meets the criteria because there isn't any yard. And so these lots don't have any yard and no place for really the kids to go play. And so I think, even a community garden's a great concept and would probably work well for a retiree community. But I just don't think that the small lot sizes that small are necessarily something that is a benefit. So that's it.
Okay.
I'm kind of curious. I think it's a good middle ground, same as Nancy, between having apartments and doing a regular single family. I also agree, though, that little you don't have very much community area and you don't have any yards or anything like that. But the overall project is curious. I'm anxious to see what it would look like as a finished product.
I have to agree with Ray. I think if it was such a great project, they wouldn't need 5 exceptions to the rules. And that once we grant this development to have exceptions to the rules, where are we going to be when someone else wants to do other things? I'm not a big fan of 0 lot lines, and I really don't like it.
Okay. I've grown up on a farm and had lots of acreage, and I've had times in my life where I didn't want a yard at all. And I employ a lot of young people that have similar mindsets. They want a place to simply be able to come home and to crash. So I do like the diversity. I think the density is a little questionable, but it is something different. It's something new. As Mark said, on that particular street, there is a lot of diversity, and this just kind of adds to it. So I personally like it. But that's just me. So that being said, I will entertain a motion by anyone at this point.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and make a motion
No, go ahead.
to approve file number Hideaway Subdivision S-17-07 and the Hideaway Preliminary PUD P-17-01 as presented.
I do believe, correct, Travis, that we'll need to include an additional condition that was in staff report but did not make conditions, and that is no parking.
That is correct. Okay, and I'll add that with the staff comment of no street parking, on-street parking on Hideaway Loop.
I second.
First and second, call for a vote.
Kimball,
No.
Hamby,
Yes.
Wilder,
Yes.
Keene,
No.
Latham,
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, and Carrie.
We've been leaving one out all night, just
We don't want anybody to feel bad.
Just to keep up.
all right. Did we correctly get everyone? Are we good? All right. Then we'll move on to the final public hearing this evening, and that is the J.R. Perk Zone Change File Number ZC-17-02. We'll open that public hearing. Tavis, once again, to present.
Good evening, Commission members. Tavis Schmidt, Associate Planner with the City of Post Falls. I'm presenting the J.R. Perk Zone Change, case file ZC-17-02. The owner is Sandra Johnson. The applicant is J.R. Perk LLC. The requested action this evening is the Planning and Zoning Commission is being asked to review the proposed zone change from Limited Commercial, LC, zoning to Community Commercial Services, CCS. The project is located on Idaho Street, essentially across from the Super One parking lot there, just a little bit north of Celtice Way, highlighted in red. So it's south of Mullen and then north of Celtice. Its address is 761 North Idaho Street. It's about 275 feet north of the intersection with Celtice Way. It's approximately a quarter acre. Currently, it's a commercial use. It's a bar, tavern, coffee shop. Water and sewer are provided by the City of Post Falls. The existing zoning, you can see it's pink underneath the cross-hatching here. The surrounding block and the block adjacently to the north is also pink. That's limited commercial zoning. The red is CCS, Community Commercial Services. The kind of a mustard yellow here is R2 zoning, which is a medium density multifamily residential. And then the more solid yellow is single family residential. We've got the Interstate 90 not too far to the south. And then these purple zonings is City Hall and the City Center Smart Code zoning areas. Staff reviewed this, found the proposal to be consistent with the goals and policies within the Post Falls Comprehensive Plan. It is consistent with the future land use map, and I'll show that in a moment. The proposed zoning is compatible with the surrounding environment. This section of Idaho Street is quite commercial. It is compatible with the adjoining street classification. The business fronts on Idaho Street and classified as a minor arterial, and it does have access on 8th Avenue, which is classified as a local roadway. This shows the future land use map. All of the red is commercial for future land use. The yellow is residential. This white space is road and Interstate 90. So you can see this is well within the bounds of the commercial future land use zoning. Within the comprehensive plan, there's some zone change review criteria, and the zoning is assigned following consideration of items such as street classification, traffic patterns, existing and future development land uses, community plans, and then any geographic or natural features. Commercial and high-density residential zonings typically assigned along streets with higher road classifications. Limited or neighborhood commercial and lower-density zonings typically assigned for properties as they proceed farther away from the higher-intensity urban area. So as you get farther away from Mullen or Celtice Avenue heading north, typically. Regarding transportation, the change from limited commercial to community commercial services would not materially change the findings or recommendations within the Post Falls Transportation Master Plan. Regarding water reclamation, the existing use is already connected to the city's water reclamation system, and the proposed zone change will not have any significant impact to that system. Domestic water, the existing use is connected to city water system, and again, the proposed zone change will not have any significant impact to the city's water system. We received no comments from any outside agencies. And at this time, I'll stand for any questions or comments.
Any questions on this one? No? We're good? Thank you, Travis.
Thank you.
Or do you? No? All right. At this time, we'd like to invite the applicant up to come up and share at all. Applicant, we should not speak? Okay. That being said, it is a public hearing, so do we have any in favor, neutral, or against?
Nope.
Okay. No need for rebuttal then. So we'll go ahead and close that. Open it up. Any comment regarding this at all? I'll just open it up to anyone.
I think it fits well into the future land use, where it's all CCS in the red that Tavis showed us before. So I think it's an appropriate zone change.
Any other comments?
I don't see it as much of a change. It's kind of a technicality to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see.
Yeah, it's pretty much what it is.
Pretty simple.
At a quarter-acre lot, how the difference in uses between the two zones can really, any of the high-intensity uses in a CCS zone are ever going to be used there. So, and even that said, high-intensity uses on Idaho Street are probably what it's meant for. So.
Agreed. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
In the case of ZC 17-02 JR Perk zone change, I would move to recommend approval, the zone change from limited commercial to CCS, finding that it is in conformance with the comprehensive plan, and adopting the findings of fact and conclusions as recommended in the staff report. That's it.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Call for a vote.
Keen,
Yes.
Carey,
Yes.
Wilder,
Yes?
Kimball,
Yes?
Hampi,
Yes.
Davis.
Yes. Okay, so moves. That concludes public hearing. I'd like to invite Commissioner Latham back to the fold. And we'll move on to new business. Item number 11, Prairie Falls, Idaho Street Development File PF-17-02. And wouldn't you believe it, Tavis to present.
Good evening, Commission members. Tavis Schmidt, Associate Planner with City of Post Falls. I'm presenting the new business item for Prairie Falls, Idaho Street Development, Final PUD, Case File PF-17-02. The owner applicant for this is Paradis de Golf Holding Company, LLC. The requested action this evening is the Planning and Zoning Commission is being asked to review and approve the final PUD request, including appropriate conditions if necessary. Highlighted in red here is the project location. It is on the west side of Idaho Street at the northwest corner of Pole Line and Idaho. The property is approximately 4.6 acres. Currently, it's vacant / golf course use. Water and sewer are provided by the City of Post Falls. It's proposed for 19 single-family lots, which works out to be approximately 4.1 units per acre as a density. The proposed access will be from Idaho Road. There will be a private internal street coming off of that called Side Saddle Loop. This shows the final PUD plan. This layout here, this was actually part of an approval in 2008. And they just hadn't gotten to this part of this phase of the final PUD. There have been some minor modifications to this from the original approval. The original approval down here at the south end, so north is at the left side of the screen here. Pole line is on the right here. So the road originally just went straight and then kind of did a 90 out to Idaho. With this, they have more of a sweeping bend in the road. So with the sweeping bend, they had to reconfigure some of these lots right here, and then that just kind of shifted just minor lot lines down on a lot of these lots here. This is shown in the staff report. There are no more or less lots than what was originally approved in the preliminary PUD. This is just another picture showing more of the engineering standards, and I have clearer copies of those that I can put on the camera if anybody would like to see those. Regarding the municipal code policies, Title 18, finding that the final PUD can exist as an independent unit. Overall, the final PUD is independent and it stands on its own. Any exception from standard district requirements is warranted by the design and amenities incorporated. The final PUD is in accordance with the preliminary PUD approval. Number 3, existing and proposed utility services are adequate, and all utilities have been stated to be adequate for the proposed development. And at this time, I'll stand for any comments or questions.
Questions for Tavis?
So it's going to go out onto Idaho?
Yes.
Okay, so
it's a one-way coming in, I believe, from this northern section and heading south and then coming out there.
And there is no road there right now?
There's no road there.
Okay, and it's like a really big wide swale kind of there right now?
It's a golf course. I think it's the 5th hole.
It's a par 5.
Okay.
Par 5.
Okay. Okay.
Chairman Davis
Okay.
knows.
I was just having a hard time kind of getting myself to where that was going to.
On the lower picture here, you can see kind of an outline. This is the roundabout at Pole Line.
Okay.
And so the lot 19 is adjacent to the intersection there with Idaho and Pole Line.
Okay. And just to reiterate, this was always part of the
Yes.
plan in the beginning. They had just never really gotten to it. And it was, okay.
Correct, yes.
Any other questions?
I'm just kind of visualizing, so the houses face the new street, or the back of the garages face that?
It's my understanding that the houses are going to face the Side Saddle Loop. They may have, access out the back with a golf cart or something to get to the golf course. But it's similar to the houses that are immediately to the west of this. They face the public street there, and their backs, the backyard opens towards the golf course.
Tavis, will this be a public street?
No, I believe it's.
It will be a public street.
Is it a public street? Oh, it is public, okay.
See a lot of nods.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. I almost went into public hearing mode and called for applicant, but I guess there'd be no need for that, correct?
Yep, no applicant
All
on
right.
this one.
Discussion.
Any discussion? You know, again, as you can see, if you look at in the staff report, there's minor adjustments as far as the lots themselves from 2008 to now, but other than that, it's pretty much the same, so.
I was trying to figure it out, that it looks like that cart path is still the same, so they've figured that all out over the years, there's no change to the, I guess the golf, you know, it becomes shorter and narrower at that point, that hole. I would break a few windows.
Yeah.
Slice
It's
of
pretty
the ball.
narrow now.
But I guess if they've got that figured out.
Yeah, I think there was, I'm assuming a lot of thought put into it since it's been 2008 until current, but.
And I think it is really similar to on the very northwest of that 18-hole golf course. The limit of that, they've done a very similar thing with almost like a frontage road there, if I recall.
Yeah.
So,
Around Spokane Street.
Yes. Yep.
Cover basin.
Makes sense.
And it looks like maybe there's a change there from the preliminary where the street now has two entrances versus just one, which is, I think, fantastic, way better than just having a long dead end that parallels Idaho Street, so I think that's great. And I think according to the staff, it meets all the preliminary PUD requirements, which is really what we're here to decide on, I guess.
Yeah.
Any other comment?
No.
I guess that being said, then, we would call for a motion.
In the case of PF 17-02 Prairie Falls final PUD, I would move to approve the final PUD with conditions found in the staff report, finding that it is in conformance with the preliminary PUD. And I guess this isn't a subdivision, is it? So it's just final PUD. So finding it's in conformance with the preliminary PUD and meets the requirements of city code.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
It's been motioned second. Call for a vote.
Carrie?
Yes.
Latham?
Yes.
Hampi?
Yes.
Kimball?
Yes.
Wilder?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes. All right, so moved. No other new business, which takes us to staff comments. Any staff comments this evening?
No, there's not.
Okay, any commission comments? Anything for the good of the order? Would say again, thank you to the staff for making our job much, much easier by putting together a great packet. And if there is no more comment, then I guess we'd for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I second.
We're gone.